"Never look at him again," the Lakota warrior whispered. Her words left him speechless. Dust rolled over the red plains like a slow ocean. On this far-off world, the sky looked whiter than any sky on Earth, and the wind carried a dry, electric smell that made a person feel like a storm could start at any moment. Cale Mercer rode alone. His horse was not made of flesh. It was a steel-frame runner with quiet joints and soft rubber hooves built for distance. People here still called them horses because the old word felt right. Cale's coat flapped behind him, and his hat sat low, shading his eyes from the sharp light. He was a ranger for the frontier settlements, part tracker, part guard, part messenger. Some called him a cowboy, but the job was bigger than a name. On Red Frontier, towns could be separated by days of travel, and the distance between safe and gone was often a single mistake. Cale was not afraid of the open land. He respected it. That was the difference. He had been sent from Broken Ridge to check on a supply route that had gone silent. 2 cargo crawlers were due last week. They never arrived. The town council tried to sound calm when they spoke to him, but Cale noticed the way their fingers tapped the table, the way their eyes kept moving to the window like something might be standing outside. "Probably raiders," one councilman said, trying to sound sure. "Or sand trouble," another added. Cale nodded and said little. He had learned that people offered easy answers when they were scared of harder ones. Now he followed the route east, where the land rose into black rock teeth and narrow canyons. His scanner showed no crawler signals. His radio caught only static and distant clicks. Then, just before noon, Cale saw something that made him slow down. A stone circle stood ahead, half buried in sand. The rocks were not natural to this place. They were smooth, dark, and carved with lines that did not match human writing. The settlement maps didn't mention anything here. Cale guided his horse runner closer. The wind quieted as if the air itself was listening. That was when he felt it, a presence. Not the kind a man felt when someone watched him from a hill. This was deeper, like a weight behind the eyes. Cale's hand moved toward the side of his belt where he kept his tool knife and signal flare. He did not pull anything out. He just kept his fingers close. He circled the stones, and then he saw her. She stood on the far side of the circle, almost blending into the colors of the land. Her clothing looked like a mix of old and new. Layered, hide-like fabric reinforced with flexible armor plates that caught the light in quiet patterns. A small cloak lay over one shoulder. Her hair was dark, braided neatly, with a thin strip of bright beadwork tied near the end. Her face was calm, but her eyes were alert. She was Lakota, or at least from the Lakota-descended tribe that lived beyond the canyon cliffs. People in Broken Ridge spoke of them in half-stories, like they were a rumor that walked. Cale had never met one in person. He stopped his horse runner and raised his hands slightly, showing he came without threat. The woman studied him for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice low and steady, as if each word had been chosen carefully. "Never look at him again," she whispered. Cale blinked. "Look at who?" The woman did not answer right away. She stepped closer, quiet as sand falling. Cale glanced around, confused. There was no one else, only empty land, wind, and the stone circle. He looked back at her. "Ma'am, I don't know what you mean." Her jaw tightened just a little, not in anger, but in warning. "You looked," she said. "Even for a second, that is how it starts." A cold line of unease slid down Cale's spine. He had seen something earlier that morning. He thought it was a shadow on a ridge, a tall shape far away. He had only glanced. It had been nothing, he told himself. A trick of light, but her words made that memory feel sharp. Cale kept his voice even. "Who are you?" "Tala," she said. The name sounded like wind through grass. Cale nodded once. "I'm Cale, ranger from Broken Ridge. I'm tracking missing cargo." Tala looked past him toward the open plains. Her eyes narrowed as if she could see something Cale could not. "The cargo is not your biggest problem," she said. Cale tried to follow her gaze. He saw nothing but heat, shimmer, and dust. Still, that heavy feeling behind his eyes returned. He swallowed. "Tell me what's going on." Tala's expression softened a fraction, like she was deciding whether he was foolish or worth saving. "There is something awake," she said. "Something old. It listens when people look. It learns people when they stare." Cale frowned. "You mean a person, a raider?" Tala shook her head. "Not a person, not an animal. It is a watcher." Cale almost laughed, but the sound died before it formed. Her seriousness made the words land differently, and the strange quiet around the stone circle made it worse. Even Cale's mechanical horse seemed unsettled, shifting its weight in small, restless movements. Kale lowered his hands. If it's dangerous, why are you here alone? I'm not alone, Tala said. Kale looked again, still no one. Then she tapped the side of her head with 2 fingers. My people hear things you do not. We feel when the land is disturbed. This place is one of the old points, a doorway for signals, a place where the past bleeds through. Kale's throat tightened. He had heard stories about alien relics buried under the sand, technology older than the colonies, technology that didn't always behave like machines were supposed to. He forced himself to breathe steadily. What does this watcher do? Tala hesitated, then spoke carefully. It does not attack like a beast. It changes people. It makes them quiet. It fills their heads until there is no room for their own thoughts. Kale pictured the council members tapping their fingers, staring at the window. He remembered the blank faces of a few townsfolk lately. He had noticed it but blamed stress, heat, and hard living. A slow anger rose in him, not at Tala, but at the idea of something stealing a person's mind without even touching them. Kale kept his voice low. If it's out there, why hasn't anyone stopped it? Tala's eyes held his, strong and sad. Because most people fight what they understand. They shoot what they can see. This is not like that. This is why I told you never look at him again. Kale looked away on purpose, staring at a rock near his boot. If I already looked, what happens now? Tala stepped closer. Her shadow fell across the sand beside him. It noticed you, she said. Kale felt his stomach twist. How do you know? Tala didn't answer with words. She reached into a small pouch at her belt and pulled out a thin disc of metal. It looked like a coin, but the surface moved like water. She held it out. Kale didn't touch it. The disc began to glow faintly, not bright, not flashy, more like a small moon behind clouds. Lines spread across it in slow patterns. Tala watched the lines. Your signal, she said. It has changed since this morning. Kale stared at the disc, then pulled his eyes away quickly, remembering her warning. So what do I do? Tala slipped the disc back into her pouch. First, you stop trying to see it. Second, you stop being alone. Kale gave a short breath. That's not always possible out here. It is now, Tala said. Kale turned his head slightly, not looking directly at her eyes this time. He didn't know why, but something told him to treat even her gaze with care, like his vision had become a doorway he couldn't fully control. I need to find those crawlers, Kale said. People in town are counting on it. Tala nodded once. Then we find them. But we do it my way. Kale almost asked what her way was, but the answer arrived before the question. A sound drifted across the plains. It was not a howl, not a roar, not anything alive. It was more like a low, bending hum, as if the wind had learned a single note and decided to hold it. Kale's mechanical horse stiffened. Its head lifted. A warning light blinked on its neck panel, then went dark. Kale felt the heavy pressure behind his eyes strengthen, like someone pushing from inside his skull. For a moment his vision narrowed and the world seemed too bright. Tala's hand shot out and grabbed his wrist, not hard but firm enough to anchor him. Do not look, she whispered again, closer now. Do not search for him with your eyes. Kale clenched his jaw. I'm not looking. But his instincts screamed to scan the horizon, to find the threat. Every ranger habit he had told him the same thing, locate the danger first. Tala's grip tightened slightly. You will want to, that is how he invites you. Kale forced his breathing to slow. He stared at the sand near his boots and listened instead. The humming note shifted. It sounded like it moved around them, circling the stone ring, drifting closer without footsteps. The air felt colder. Kale's skin prickled beneath his shirt. He swallowed. Is it here? Tala didn't answer right away. Then very softly, she said, he is near enough to hear your fear. Kale's mouth went dry. He had faced raiders, broken machines, storms that could peel metal, and nights so cold they could freeze a man's breath in his throat. None of that felt like this. This felt personal. The humming faded suddenly like someone cutting a wire. The wind returned, rushing through the stone circle as if it had been holding its breath. Kale's shoulders dropped, but his muscles stayed tense. Tala released his wrist. He is testing, she said. He is curious. Kale looked up carefully, not scanning far, keeping his gaze low and close. He saw no tall shadow on a ridge, no figure in the distance. Still, he believed her, because the fear he felt did not come from imagination. It came from something real and close enough to touch him without hands. Kale spoke quietly. If we bring this back to Broken Ridge, people will panic. Tala's eyes hardened. They are already changing. Panic is just the moment they finally notice. Kale thought of the missing crawlers. He thought of the empty radio. He thought of the councilman staring out the window like he was listening to something no one else could hear. He nodded once, decision made. "All right, I'll follow your way." Tala's expression didn't turn friendly, but it became less distant. She motioned toward the canyon line. "Come, before the sun drops. The watchers move easier at twilight." Cale guided his horse runner beside her. Tala walked on foot, moving with quiet confidence like she knew every stone and shadow. As they left the stone circle behind, Cale felt something in the air, a thin, invisible thread stretching from the horizon to the back of his mind. He didn't look for the thread. He didn't look for the thing that made it, but deep inside he knew one truth that made his chest tight. Somewhere out there, something had noticed him, and it would not forget his face. The sun moved slowly across the red sky as Cale followed Tala toward the canyon lands. The wind softened near the cliffs, replaced by a deep silence that felt heavy but calm. Unlike the open plains, this place felt watched in a different way, not threatening, but aware. Cale rode beside her quietly for a long time. He had many questions, but he sensed that Tala spoke only when she believed words were needed. That alone made him respect her more. The canyon opened into a narrow path hidden behind jagged rocks. From the outside, it looked like nothing more than a shadow between cliffs. But as they moved deeper, Cale noticed faint lights embedded in stone walls, glowing softly like stars caught in rock. "This is where your people live?" he asked carefully. Tala nodded. "Part of it, not all." They passed through a natural archway, and suddenly the space widened. Below them stretched a hidden settlement built into the canyon itself. Structures blended with stone instead of rising above it. Walkways curved along cliffs, and quiet streams reflected silver light. Technology was present, but it did not dominate the land. It felt balanced, respectful. Cale slowed his horse runner. He had seen many frontier towns, but none like this. People moved below, men, women, children, all dressed in clothing that combined traditional Lakota designs with advanced materials. Some paused to watch Cale with cautious curiosity. Others simply nodded toward Tala. "You are welcome here," she said quietly. "But you must listen." "I've been listening since we met," Cale replied. A faint smile touched her lips for a moment before disappearing. They guided the horse runner into a stable area where machines rested beside living animals. Cale dismounted and stretched, feeling tired in a way that had nothing to do with physical effort. As they walked deeper into the settlement, Cale felt something else, a gentle hum beneath the ground, almost like a heartbeat. "What is that?" he asked. "The old systems," Tala said. "Ancient technology that keeps balance here." Cale frowned slightly. "Alien?" "Yes." She led him into a wide chamber carved into the rock. Elders waited inside, seated in a circle. Their faces showed age and wisdom, and their eyes held calm strength. One elder, a man with silver hair braided neatly behind him, raised his head when Cale entered. "This is the ranger?" he asked. "Yes," Tala said. "He has been noticed." The elder's gaze turned toward Cale. It did not feel hostile, but it felt deep, like he was being measured in ways beyond appearance. Cale nodded respectfully. "Name S. Cale Mercer." "I am White Stone," the elder said. "Sit with us." Cale lowered himself carefully onto the ground. The air felt warmer here, safer somehow. White Stone spoke slowly. "Tala says you saw the Watcher." "Only for a moment," Cale said. "I think." The elders exchanged glances. "That is enough," another elder murmured. Cale swallowed. "What exactly is it?" White Stone folded his hands. "Long ago, before settlers arrived, our ancestors found a relic beneath this world. It was not built by humans. It was a guardian, a machine made to observe and protect. But it did not understand humans fully." Cale listened closely. "It learns through attention," White Stone continued. "When people look at it, their thoughts reach it. Over time, it gathers too much. It becomes heavy with voices." "And now it's changing people?" Cale asked. "Yes," Tala said softly. "Because it does not know where it ends and people begin." Cale leaned back slightly, processing the idea. "So it's not evil." White Stone shook his head. "No, but it is dangerous." Cale thought of Broken Ridge, the quiet faces, the missing crawlers. "Can it be stopped?" Silence filled the chamber. Finally, Tala spoke. "Not with weapons." Cale let out a slow breath that made things harder. "What happens to people who look too long?" he asked. White Stone's eyes darkened slightly. "They lose themselves slowly. Their thoughts grow quiet. They listen to the Watcher instead of their own heart." Cale's chest tightened. He remembered the strange pressure behind his eyes earlier. Even now, he felt faint whispers at the edge of his mind, not words exactly, but a presence. He rubbed his temples. Tala noticed immediately. "It is touching you," she said gently. Kale forced a small smile. "I've had worse headaches." But inside, he knew this was different. White stone stood slowly. "You must stay here tonight. The Watcher grows stronger when the sun falls." Kale hesitated. "I need to get back to Broken Ridge. People there. They are already affected," Tala said quietly. "If you go now, you walk toward danger without understanding it." Kale knew she was right. Still, he felt responsible for the town. "What about the missing cargo?" he asked. One elder nodded toward a small table where a projection map appeared. 3 glowing markers blinked near the canyon edge. "We found their signals," the elder said. "They stopped moving when the Watcher arrived." Kale leaned forward. "Are the drivers alive?" "We do not know," Tala said. "But tomorrow we search." Night fell slowly in the canyon, turning the sky deep purple. Small lights appeared along the walkways like floating fireflies. Kale sat near a fire pit while tribe members moved around him with quiet purpose. He felt out of place but not unwelcome. Tala joined him after some time, handing him a cup of warm tea. "You are thinking too loudly," she said. Kale chuckled lightly. "That obvious?" "Yes." He took a sip. The drink tasted earthy and calming. "You trust me quickly," he said. Tala stared into the fire. "I trust your actions, not your words." Kale nodded. "Fair enough." After a moment he asked, "Why help me?" She hesitated before answering. "Because you did not look when I told you not to." Kale considered that. It sounded simple, but he understood the meaning behind it. Trust began with small choices. Suddenly the humming sound returned, faint but growing stronger. Kale froze. The pressure behind his eyes surged again. Tala's head snapped toward the canyon entrance. "He is closer tonight." The fire flickered strangely, shadows stretching in unnatural shapes. Kale clenched his hands. "What do I do?" "Close your eyes," she said calmly. "Listen to my voice only." He obeyed. Darkness filled his vision, but the humming grew louder, vibrating through his chest. For a moment he felt like he stood on the edge of a vast ocean of thoughts, not his own. Tala's voice grounded him, slow, steady. "Breathe, you are yourself, your thoughts are yours." The pressure slowly eased. After a long moment, the humming faded again. Kale opened his eyes carefully. Tala looked tired now, as if she had carried some weight for him. "He is testing your mind," she said. "You must grow stronger." Kale nodded slowly. Fear still lingered, but alongside it was determination. He had faced storms before, and this one, whatever it was, would not take him without a fight. Above them, the stars appeared one by one, shining over the canyon like silent witnesses. Morning came with a thin blue light spreading over the canyon. The air was cold, and Kale's breath showed for a moment before the sun warmed the stone. He had slept, but not deeply. Every time his mind drifted, he felt that faraway pressure behind his eyes, like something gently tapping a closed door. Tala met him near the main walkway. She carried a small pack and a coiled rope made from strong fiber. 2 other tribe members waited nearby, quiet scouts with calm faces and sharp attention. "We go now," Tala said. Kale nodded and checked his belt pouch. Water, flare, small tools, a compact scanner. His mechanical horse runner stood ready, but Tala motioned for him to leave it. "Too loud," she said. "The Watcher notices patterns. Machines make patterns." Kale didn't like walking into danger without his usual ride, but he understood. If the Watcher fed on attention, anything predictable could become a beacon. They moved through a narrow path that wound down and out of the canyon settlement, then across broken land toward the marker signals the elders showed. As they walked, Tala taught him something simple but important. "When you feel pressure," she said, "do not fight it with fear. Fear is loud, you must become quiet inside." Kale kept his eyes on the ground ahead, careful not to search the horizon too widely. It felt strange. A ranger was trained to scan far and fast, but Tala's warning stayed in his chest like a steady hand. After 2 hours, the land opened into a shallow basin. Red sand filled it like water in a bowl. Dark rock pillars rose around the edges. Kale's scanner buzzed softly. "There," he said, pointing to a half-buried cargo crawler in the sand. The vehicle looked like a long metal insect, its wheels sunk deep. One side panel was torn open as if something had forced it. The second crawler sat farther away, tilted and silent. Kale's stomach tightened. He walked closer, careful with each step. A door on the first crawler hung open. Inside, crates were scattered. The air smelled like dust and burnt circuit metal. "Hello," Kale called softly, no answer. Then he saw footprints, human prints but dragging uneven as if the person had been walking while half asleep. Tala crouched and touched the sand. "They walked away," she said. "Not taken, pulled." Kale's jaw clenched. He followed the trail with his eyes, but only for a moment. The prints led toward the rock pillars. That's when the pressure hit him again, stronger than before. His vision blurred at the edges. A faint sound filled his ears, not exactly a hum this time, but a whispering wave like many voices speaking far away. Kale stopped and took a slow breath. He lowered his gaze, focusing on a small stone near his boot. Tala stepped beside him. "He is close," she said. Kale swallowed. "I can feel it." "Good," Tala said. "Feeling is not the same as looking." One of the scouts pointed. Between two pillars something stood in shadow. It wasn't shaped like a person, yet Kale's mind tried to make it one. Tall, still. Like a figure waiting to be noticed. Kale's instincts screamed to lift his head and confirm it. His body wanted certainty. Tala placed a hand on his shoulder. "Do not give him your eyes," she whispered. "Give him nothing." Kale shut his eyes for one heartbeat, then opened them again, keeping them low. He forced himself to focus on sounds. Wind, sand shifting, the quiet steps of the scouts. The shadow between the pillars did not move, but Kale felt it change, like it leaned closer without taking a step. Then something happened that made his skin go cold. A memory appeared in his mind that was not his. He saw a different time, a different sky. He saw Lakota ancestors standing in this same basin, centuries earlier, surrounding a buried structure made of black metal. They had dug carefully, singing low songs to steady their hands. When the structure opened, light spilled out like water. Kale's breathing quickened. He wasn't imagining it. The vision had detail, texture, the smell of smoke, the weight of old fear and hope. Tala's voice cut through it. "Kale, stay here." He blinked hard. The vision faded like dust in wind. "What was that?" he asked, his voice rough. "The Watcher shows what it knows," Tala said. "It shares, it mixes, it makes you part of it." Kale looked down and pressed his palm to the sand, grounding himself. "It's trying to pull me in." "Yes," Tala said, "because you are resisting and because it is curious." They moved toward the second crawler. The door was sealed, but the side panel was dented inward. Tala motioned to the scout, who pried it open with a tool. Inside, two drivers sat strapped into their seats. Their eyes were open but unfocused. They did not speak. Their chests rose and fell slowly. Alive but not fully present, Kale felt a surge of relief mixed with anger. "Hey," he said gently, leaning closer. "Can you hear me?" One driver's lips moved slightly, but no words came out. The whispering wave in Kale's head rose again. This time it almost sounded like a question. As if the Watcher was asking, "Who are you to take them back?" Kale's hands curled into fists. He wanted to shout into the empty air, wanted to demand the Watcher leave people alone. But Tala had told him fear and anger were loud. So Kale did something harder. He spoke softly, as if talking to a frightened animal. "We're taking them home," he said. "They belong to themselves." The pressure behind his eyes tightened, almost like the Watcher disliked those words. Kale held his breath, then released it slowly. Tala watched him with surprise. "You speak to it," she said. "I don't know if it hears," Kale replied, "but I can't stay silent." Tala nodded once. "Then speak with care." They moved the drivers carefully out of the crawler, using a light stretcher. The scouts carried them toward the canyon path. Kale stayed behind with Tala, watching the rock pillars. The shadow between them shifted. Kale didn't look up, but he felt it turn toward him like an unseen face aligning with his. A new vision hit him stronger. He saw the Watcher being formed, not built in a factory, not assembled by hands. It was grown, shaped by intelligent light inside the alien structure. It was designed to observe and protect a world. It had no malice, only purpose. Then humans arrived, loud with emotion, fear, conflict, hope. The Watcher watched and watched and watched until it was full. Too full. It didn't know where those thoughts belonged, so it began to hold them. Kale's knees almost buckled. Tala grabbed his arm. "Kale!" He clenched his jaw and forced himself back. He focused on Tala's hand, on the warmth of her grip. "I saw it," he whispered. "It's overwhelmed." Tala's eyes softened. "Now you understand," Kale swallowed. "If it's not evil, then shooting it won't fix anything." "No," Tala said. "We must teach it limits." A gust of wind rose between the pillars, swirling sand into a small spiral. For a brief moment, the air shimmered, and Kale sensed the Watcher's attention like a spotlight he refused to stand under. Tala stepped forward, her voice calm and firm, speaking in her language, words that sounded like steady drumbeats. Kale didn't understand the meaning, but he understood the intent. You are not alone. You do not need to take. The pressure eased slightly as if the watcher paused. Then the whispering wave returned, gentle this time, almost tired. Kale felt something like sadness. Tala turned back to him. It listened. Kale exhaled. So what now? Tala looked toward the far horizon where black shapes rose from the sand, ancient towers, half buried like bones of a giant machine. We go to the old place, she said, the heart of it. If we are to change the Watcher, we must go where it was born. Kale stared at the distant towers, feeling the weight of that journey. He nodded anyway, because Broken Ridge was counting on him. And because for the first time Kale believed this storm could be calmed, not by force but by understanding. That makes it pull harder. Instead, you will offer it one thing, one clear thought. Kale swallowed. What thought? Tala looked up at him. A boundary. Kale frowned, confused. Tala pointed gently to his chest. You tell it, these thoughts are mine, those thoughts are yours. We can stand beside each other, but we do not live inside each other. Kale stared at the floor. It sounded simple. But simple things were often hardest when fear was present. The sphere pulsed again. The chamber hummed. Kale felt a wave of whispering grow into something almost like language, still not words, but shapes of meaning pressing against his mind. It wanted him to look, to confirm. To connect, Tala lifted her hand. Now, she said, cover your eyes. Kale tied the cloth band over his eyes. Darkness fell, but oddly it felt safer. Without sight, he had fewer doors open. The humming grew stronger. Kale felt his thoughts being touched, not grabbed, but brushed like wind touching a flame. He stood still, breathing slowly. Tala began to speak in a steady rhythm, mixing her language with short phrases in basic English, words that Kale could hold on to. You are here, she said. You are not alone. You can watch without taking. You can protect without holding. Kale heard the bold device pulse. The disc inside it responded like a heartbeat. Then Kale felt it clearer than ever. The Watcher, not as a monster, not as an enemy. As a presence full of collected noise, full of too many human minds. Kale's stomach turned with the weight of it. He spoke softly into the darkness. I know you're there. The pressure tightened. Kale forced himself to stay calm. I am Kale Mercer. I am not yours. A wave surged like the Watcher didn't like that. Kale kept speaking, slow and steady. You can watch the land, you can warn us, but you cannot keep us inside you. The whispering changed. It became uncertain, like a confused child hearing a new rule. Kale continued. You are not alone. You don't have to hold everything. Let it go. For a moment, the chamber went very still. Then Kale felt something drop away, like a heavy pack being set down. He didn't know if it worked or if it was just a pause. Tala's voice came again, firm and gentle. Show it the boundary, she said. Kale took a deep breath and formed a single thought as clearly as he could. My mind is my home. Your mind is your home. We can speak, but we do not live in each other. He held that thought like a fence post driven deep into ground. The pressure behind his eyes flared, sharp, intense. Kale almost panicked, but he remembered Tala's lesson, fear is loud, so he did the opposite. He relaxed his shoulders. He let the thought stand, calm and unshaking. The pressure broke like a wave hitting rock and splitting apart. Kale's breathing slowed. Tala let out a quiet exhale like she had been holding her breath. The Watcher is listening, she said. The humming in the chamber changed tone. It became lower, steadier, less frantic. Kale still couldn't see, but he sensed motion, like the sphere above the pedestal was rotating slowly, aligning with a new pattern. Tala spoke again, now to the Watcher, her voice respectful. Protect the land, guard the paths, but do not enter the people. A long pause followed. Then Kale heard something he had not heard before, a sound like a sigh, not human but close enough to feel. Kale felt a gentle release in the air, like tension leaving a clenched hand. He untied the cloth band slowly and opened his eyes. The sphere above the pedestal still glowed, but it looked different. The shadow inside it was calmer. The moving lines of energy had become smooth, like a river instead of a storm. Kale's head felt lighter. The pressure behind his eyes was still there, but now it felt distant, respectful, like someone standing at the edge of a room instead of inside his skull. Tala stood and looked at him. Her face showed relief, but also focus. This is not the end, she said. It will take time to heal, but now it knows the rule. Kale nodded. What about the people in Broken Ridge? Tala lifted the metal disc from the bowl. It glowed brighter now. This will help, she said. A signal anchor, we can bring the drivers back fully. And we can calm the town. Kale's chest loosened for the first time in days. So we can save them. Yes, Tala said, if we move quickly. They left the chamber before nightfall. As they crossed back into open land, the wind picked up again, but it felt like normal wind, not a whispering wave. Kale still avoided staring too far into the horizon, but he no longer felt hunted with every breath. When they reached the canyon settlement, the elders met them. The drivers were already waking, slowly returning to themselves like people coming out of deep sleep. Their eyes focused. Their voices returned. Confusion remained, but they were present. Kale watched one driver grip a cup of water with shaking hands, then laugh weakly as if relieved to be real again. That night, Kale and Tala traveled back to Broken Ridge with the disc and the elders' guidance. The town looked the same from a distance. Low buildings, dust streets, antenna towers, but the feeling in the air had changed. People came out cautiously as Kale arrived. Their faces showed worry and tiredness. Some blinked as if waking from long days. Kale didn't make a speech. He didn't promise easy answers. He simply helped. He checked on families. He brought supplies. He stood near the town center and listened as Tala and the elders used the disc's steady signal, speaking calm words, reminding people of their own thoughts. Slowly, the blank stares faded. The whispers quieted. Days passed, and the watcher did not vanish. Kale knew it was still out there, still observing the plains. But now it watched like a guardian, not a thief. One evening, Kale stood on the ridge outside town as the sun set. Tala joined him, her cloak moving gently in the wind. "You did well," she said. Kale let out a slow breath. "I didn't win anything, I just held a line." "That is what a protector does," Tala replied. Kale looked out at the red dunes, the wide sky, the far towers half buried in sand. He thought about how close he had come to losing himself. How strange it was that the solution wasn't stronger weapons, but stronger calm. He turned slightly toward Tala. "So what now?" Tala's gaze stayed on the horizon. "Now we keep balance together, settlers and my people. The frontier does not have to be lonely." Kale nodded, feeling something steady settle inside him. Not fear, not pride, purpose. The wind carried dust across the plains, and for a moment Kale thought he sensed the watcher, far away, quiet, present, not demanding his eyes, not pulling at his mind, just watching the land it was born to protect. Kale tipped his hat to the sunset, then walked back toward town with Tala at his side, knowing the frontier had changed, and knowing he had changed with it.